Two things. Nobody puts baby in a corner, and Jennifer Grey ruined her career, ruined her face, took away everything.
When Dirty Dancing hit theaters in 1987, it wasn't just another romantic drama. It became a cultural phenomenon. Audiences were swept away by the sizzling chemistry between Jennifer Grey and Patrick Swayze, and the film's legacy has endured for decades. Behind the iconic lifts, sultry dance scenes, and unforgettable soundtrack, however, a more complex and emotional story was unfolding, one that few knew at the time. Jennifer Grey, the breakout star who played Baby, was harboring a private truth during filming. She never spoke about it publicly, yet it added an invisible tension behind the scenes, making the film's success even more remarkable. Fans speculated for years about the off-screen relationship between Grey and Swayze. Their on-screen energy felt too real to be just acting. Rumors of clashing personalities, emotional strain, and immense pressure followed them. Through it all, Jennifer Grey held back something personal, something that may have forever shifted her dynamic with Swayze. What was she hiding? Why did she keep it buried during the most pivotal project of her career? The truth, as it turns out, is more layered than anyone imagined. Jennifer Grey quietly redefined her career outside the Hollywood spotlight, carving a path of resilience, evolution, and quiet strength. Born on March 26, 1960, in New York City, she was raised in a family deeply rooted in the arts. Her father, Joel Grey, was an acclaimed actor and Academy Award winner, while her mother, Jo Wilder, was a former actress and singer. With that kind of artistic legacy, it seemed inevitable that Jennifer would find her way to the stage. Yet, her path was far from easy or traditional. After graduating from Manhattan's Dalton School, she trained at the neighborhood playhouse, building a solid foundation in acting. In the early 1980s, she slowly earned her way into film through commercials and small roles, gaining traction in a fiercely competitive industry. Her role as Jeannie Bueller in Ferris Bueller's Day Off, 1986, helped her stand out with audiences, but it was Dirty Dancing the following year that truly launched her into stardom. As Frances Baby Houseman, she embodied youthful courage, vulnerability, and self-discovery. Her performance wasn't just about dance moves or chemistry with Swayze. It captured the emotional journey of a girl finding her voice. That raw authenticity connected with generations of viewers and made Dirty Dancing a timeless favorite. Jennifer Grey became a household name, yet she remained an unusually reluctant star. She focused on the wake, not the fame, and carried herself with humility and quiet determination. After Dirty Dancing, her career took a slower, more reflective turn. Though none of her later roles matched the success of Baby Houseman, Jennifer continued working consistently in film and television. She appeared in projects like Bloodhounds of Broadway, Wind, and a variety of TV roles throughout the 1990s and 2000s. She also did voice work and accepted smaller parts that allowed her to stretch her range and adapt to different genres. Fame might have dimmed, but her passion for acting remained strong. Jennifer never relied on celebrity status alone. Her craft, marked by depth and emotional authenticity, spoke for itself. In interviews, she often shared how her priorities had changed. It was never just about being a star. It was about doing meaningful work, building a full life, and navigating the turbulent waters of demanding industry. One of the most publicly scrutinized and deeply personal chapters of her career came in the early 1990s, when she underwent rhinoplasty. What followed was an unexpected and painful shift in her public image and professional opportunities. In an era where cosmetic surgery was becoming common, especially for women in Hollywood, Jennifer's decision was met with harsh judgment. What made it especially controversial? What made Jennifer Grey's decision to undergo rhinoplasty so impactful wasn't simply the surgery itself, but a profound shift in how she was perceived by both casting directors and fans. In later interviews, Grey openly admitted that the nose job left her unrecognizable, even to her closest friends. While she retained her talent, grace, and work ethic, the change drastically affected her career. She famously said, "I went into the operating room a celebrity and came out anonymous," a quote that became a cautionary tale about the pressures on women in Hollywood to conform to narrow beauty standards. Her story underscored how tightly identity and recognition are often tied to physical appearance. Another deeply painful and life-altering event occurred just before Dirty Dancing's release in 1987. While vacationing in Ireland with then-boyfriend Matthew Broderick, her co-star from Ferris Bueller's Day Off, The two were involved in a tragic car accident that resulted in the deaths of 2 people in another vehicle. Though Gray was physically unharmed, the emotional trauma haunted her. She experienced severe survivor's guilt, and despite Dirty Dancing becoming a career-defining success, she struggled to embrace it fully. The juxtaposition of personal tragedy and professional triumph left her emotionally conflicted and led to a retreat from the public eye. In interviews, she later admitted that she felt as though she didn't have the right to celebrate when others had lost their lives. Beyond emotional trauma, Gray also battled an evolving entertainment industry that often sidelines women as they age or alter their appearance. While the industry often preaches reinvention, it paradoxically punishes those who visibly change. Though many hoped Gray would continue as a leading lady, the roles began to dry up by the early 1990s, not solely because of her appearance, but due to a broader systemic issue in Hollywood, a lack of nuanced roles for women who don't fit a narrow mold of youth and conventional beauty. Gray's career arc reflects a larger conversation around ageism, appearance-based discrimination, and the double standards that continue to shape women's trajectories in entertainment. Her personal journey became emblematic of struggles many other actresses silently endure. Less visible, but equally impactful, was Gray's battle with chronic pain following the 1987 car accident. She lived with lingering injuries for years, many of which went undiagnosed until 2010 when she joined Dancing with the Stars. A full medical evaluation revealed severe damage to her spine and a neck compression that could have eventually led to paralysis. She underwent corrective surgery just before the show and went on not only to compete but to win. What audiences saw on stage was glamorous and graceful, but behind the scenes, it was a battle of physical endurance and mental resilience. Her victory was not just a public comeback. It was a deeply personal triumph over long-held pain and adversity. Jennifer Grey also faced the burden of typecasting. Though Dirty Dancing made her a global icon, it became a double-edged sword. She found herself boxed into a narrow category, where producers and audiences could only see baby and struggled to accept her in other roles. This is a challenge many actors face, being so closely associated with one character that it limits future opportunities. For Grey, the challenge was magnified by her changed appearance and the shifting priorities of Hollywood, making the fight for continued relevance even steeper. Still, she persevered, pursuing independent films, voice acting, and stage performances that allowed her to express herself without the limitations imposed by mainstream expectations. As Jennifer Grey's rise reached its iconic peak with Dirty Dancing, it became impossible to talk about her journey without also recognizing the magnetic presence of her co-star, Patrick Swayze. A commanding and complex figure with both physical power and emotional depth, Swayze was more than just a romantic lead. He was a multidimensional artist whose influence extended far beyond the silver screen. Born in Houston, Texas, in 1952, Swayze grew up in a family immersed in the arts. His mother, Patsy Swayze, was a highly respected choreographer and dance teacher, and it was under his mother Patsy Swayze's guidance that Patrick learned to merge athletic precision with artistic grace. He studied ballet seriously, attending prestigious institutions such as the Harkis and Joffrey Ballet Schools in New York City, developing a discipline that would shape the rest of his life. But Patrick Swayze was far more than just a dancer. He was also a high school football player, a trained martial artist, and someone uniquely capable of bridging the worlds of action, romance, and introspection. His breakout role in The Outsiders, 1983, introduced him to audiences as a brooding, older brother figure, but it was Dirty Dancing in 1987 that catapulted him into international stardom. As Johnny Castle, Swayze delivered a performance that was physical, passionate, and emotionally rich. His chemistry with Jennifer Grey was electric, drawing millions into the story of a working-class dance instructor and an upper-class girl challenging the odds. Though it began as a modest film, Dirty Dancing became a cultural phenomenon, and Swayze's now iconic dance scenes and his original song, She's Like the Wind, solidified his place as a rare kind of artist, both tough and tender. Following Dirty Dancing, Swayze proved he was no one-hit wonder. In Roadhouse, 1989, he played Dalton, a philosophical bouncer with a moral code. Then came Ghost, 1990, opposite Demi Moore, a supernatural love story that became another cultural milestone. Swayze's portrayal of a man who continues to love and protect from beyond the grave captivated audiences worldwide. The now legendary pottery scene set to Unchained Melody became one of cinema's most iconic moments, showcasing Swayze's ability to bring both strength and vulnerability to his roles. He continued to challenge himself in Point Break, 1991, where he played Boddy, a surfing, thrill-seeking bank robber who was as reflective as he was dangerous. He brought a zen-like depth to the role, turning a potential villain into a strangely charismatic figure. The film also allowed Swayze to showcase his athleticism, performing many of his own stunts, including skydiving. In City of Joy, 1992, he stepped into a deeply dramatic role as a disillusioned American surgeon in India, further proving his commitment to emotionally layered storytelling, even if it meant stepping away from a commercial spotlight. Yet behind this impressive portfolio lay a man shaped by both childhood trauma and relentless professional pressure. Patrick's relationship with his mother, though pivotal to his development, was marked by emotional pain. His wife, Lisa Nemi, later revealed that Patsy Swayze had been physically abusive during his childhood. Though she helped mold his artistic path, the harsh discipline inflicted deep psychological scars. It wasn't until his father intervened on Patrick's 18th birthday that the abuse reportedly ended, but the emotional damage lingered. This early trauma likely fed into Patrick's lifelong struggle with vulnerability and identity. While the world saw him as a masculine heartthrob and graceful dancer, he yearned to be recognized as a serious artist. The tension between public perception and personal aspiration often left him feeling unseen despite his widespread fame. That internal conflict was further strained by the physical demands of his career. Known for pushing himself to the edge, dancing through injuries and performing dangerous stunts, Patrick's drive came with a steep personal cost. During difficult periods, particularly after Lisa suffered a miscarriage, Swayze turned to alcohol to cope with his grief and emotional turmoil. His drinking intensified during the filming of Fatherhood, and although he sought help through rehab and experienced stretches of sobriety, the struggle was ongoing. By the mid to late 1990s, his career momentum began to wane. Hollywood was changing, and while Swayze still had immense talent, he found it increasingly difficult to land roles that matched the critical and commercial success of his earlier work. There were whispers in the industry that his career was declining, not due to a lack of skill, but because the system had shifted and no longer knew how to play someone like him, a complex, soulful man who didn't fit neatly into the conventional molds of stardom. Yet despite professional and personal challenges, Patrick Swayze continued to fight, with grace, grit, and a heart that never stopped seeking purpose, love, and truth. Perhaps it wasn't a lack of talent that slowed Patrick Swayze's career in the later years, but rather the weight of personal challenges and the immense pressure to live up to the heights of his earlier successes. These internal battles may have quietly eroded his confidence and well-being. Central to this story is a complex relationship between Jennifer Grey and Patrick Swayze, a dynamic that holds a unique place in Hollywood history. When they starred together in Dirty Dancing, 1987, they became instant icons. The film's success wasn't just about choreography or a memorable soundtrack. It was a chemistry between Grey and Swayze that made it a cultural phenomenon. However, behind the scenes, their relationship was far more nuanced than the romantic magic audiences witnessed on screen. Grey and Swayze each brought distinct personalities to the set. She played the shy and thoughtful Francis Baby Houseman, while he embodied the rebellious, passionate Johnny Castle. While their connection on screen seemed effortless, those involved in production have revealed that their dynamic off-screen was anything but smooth at first. The pair had a rocky start, often clashing during filming. Swayze, known for his perfectionism and intensity, could be a demanding presence. Grey later admitted in interviews that he wasn't particularly warm toward her in the beginning, which made an already grueling and physically demanding shoot even harder for her emotionally. Despite those early difficulties, the tension eventually gave way to a professional and unexpectedly personal bond. In her memoir, Grey shared how Swayze's strong personality frequently pushed her to go further as a performer. He challenged her, not to be cruel, but because he demanded excellence from himself and those around him. While at the time she found it frustrating and emotionally exhausting, she later acknowledged that his high standards brought out the best in her. Swayze's relentless dedication to his craft often translated into a serious intensity on set, and while it sometimes strained their rapport, it also forged a deeper respect between them. Swayze, too, was dealing with his own internal battles, many rooted in childhood trauma and the pressures of his image in Hollywood. He was deeply devoted to his work and often held strong opinions about how things should be done, which sometimes made him a difficult collaborator. But despite those differences, both actors were professionals who set aside personal tension for the good of the film. Over time, they developed a working relationship built on mutual respect. It may not have been the carefree, warm friendship fans imagined, but it was real and layered. What makes their connection even more compelling is how it extended beyond the film. After Dirty Dancing became a global sensation, both Gray and Swayze had to grapple with the sudden and overwhelming fame that followed. The film didn't just elevate their careers, it defined them. For Gray, the success came with a downside. She was typecast as the innocent baby, and for years struggled to escape the long shadow the role cast over her opportunities. Swayze, though already a seasoned actor, also found his Dirty Dancing fame to be a double-edged sword. It cemented his star power, but it also added another layer of pressure and public scrutiny. Behind the scenes of Dirty Dancing, both actors were navigating far more than their lines and dance routines. They were confronting insecurities, conflicting work styles, and the looming weight of a movie that would go on to define a generation. Their ability to channel that tension into such believable on-screen passion is a testament to their professionalism and to the raw truth that sometimes the greatest performances are born from the most complicated realities. Jennifer Grey and Patrick Swayze had a relationship that was anything but conventional. The two actors, who would later become cultural icons for their roles in the 1987 hit Dirty Dancing, shared a dynamic that was intense, complicated, and at times strained. Though their on-screen chemistry became legendary, their real-life relationship during production wasn't nearly as seamless as a love story their characters portrayed. Grey, known for her role as Frances' baby houseman, and Swayze, who played the rebellious dance instructor Johnny Castle, began their working relationship with noticeable tension that gradually evolved into mutual respect. From the outset, it was clear their personalities and artistic approaches differed. Swayze's perfectionism and intense commitment to his craft often clashed with Gray's more emotionally intuitive style. In later interviews, Gray recalled how Swayze was tough on her, his critiques sometimes feeling harsh and unrelenting. However, she came to realize that his demanding nature stemmed from a desire to deliver the best performance possible, not only from himself but from his co-stars as well. Though it created a high-pressure environment, it also pushed Gray to stretch her limits, resulting in a performance that continues to resonate decades later. Despite their friction, there was a hidden layer of connection between them that few were aware of. Gray admitted that Swayze was never overly sentimental or affectionate, but the bond they formed was forged through the shared pressure of creating something iconic. That bond, while not always easy, was rooted in mutual understanding and a deep professional respect. Their ability to work through conflict and focus on their shared goal gave Dirty Dancing the authenticity that audiences felt so deeply. Adding complexity to their relationship was the intense pressure they faced as the film quickly became a cultural phenomenon. Neither Gray nor Swayze anticipated the massive success of Dirty Dancing, and the sudden fame brought with it a whole new set of challenges. As the spotlight grew brighter, the demands on their personal and professional lives increased. Gray struggled with being typecast as Baby, and has since spoken about the difficulty of shedding that image in later roles. Swayze, too, battled with the scrutiny that came with fame, along with the growing expectations of always performing at the same emotional and physical intensity. Interestingly, even as the media speculated on their behind-the-scenes dynamic, both Gray and Swayze kept their personal struggles private. They chose not to air their issues publicly and maintained a level of professional composure that shielded them from the worst of the gossip. This decision reflected a shared commitment to their craft and to preserving the integrity of what they had created together. Their choice to remain private, even as fame surrounded them, became part of their quiet strength and enduring legacy. The death of Patrick Swayze in 2009 from pancreatic cancer profoundly affected Jennifer Grey. In the years that followed, she spoke openly about the grief she felt and the lasting impact he had on her life and career. She described him not just as a co-star but as a mentor, someone who taught her resilience, discipline, and how to remain grounded in the face of chaos. Though their relationship had its complications, Gray continued to reflect on it with admiration, acknowledging the growth they experienced together and the connection they shared through their work. Even now, Jennifer Grey remembers Patrick Swayze with fondness and respect. In interviews and on social media, she honors his legacy, not only as a man who helped bring Dirty Dancing to life, but as someone who challenged her to rise above her fears. Their time together, while often fraught with tension, created something timeless. And in the end, it was that complex bond, fueled by passion, conflict, and ultimately respect, that became the heart of one of cinema's most beloved love stories.